Welcome to the Human Experiences podcast. I'm Ellen and I'm here with Sharon as your host today. Reflections. We are all influenced by our experiences, but it is our reflections that allow us to make sense of ourselves and the world around us. Tim Winton uses his novel to share his own deeply personal experiences through the chapters Havoc and Betsy, where he evaluates how both traumatizing and comical experiences shaped him as he reflects on them in later life. The act of Winton writing his memories down is likened to Giuseppe Tornatore's film Cinema Paradiso, where both present the reader with fragmented memories of the main character. I think by exploring such universal themes in each text, the writers have encouraged the audience to relate to these stories and reflect on themselves, challenging how they see the world.
Thanks, Ellen. So, Havoc is a chapter in Winton's book that delves into his traumatic experiences and the adversities he faced as a child and young adult. After he describes his car accident, Winton recounts feeling as though suddenly time was precious, by going on to say that by the time he graduated, he'd written 3 books, and then finishing by saying, Havoc, it seemed, had lent in and set me running. I think that by using personification, Winton perfectly explains how this experience gave him drive, gave him purpose, that without such an experience occurring, he could have never started writing.
Yeah, I think by giving Havoc human qualities, Winton gives it a larger presence within his life and makes Havoc a character within the chapter. It is his own reflection of trauma that enables him to grasp a better understanding of how his own life was shaped because of Havoc. He engages the audience to reconsider times when we ourselves have reflected on past experiences and evaluated how the trauma that we have gone through may have impacted further events in our lives. Winton then says, in my experience, at moments of extremity, you often become a person you know very well. You follow a pattern, a role that seems to have already been written. It seems that Winton switches from first to second person here, allowing the audience to connect with his idea more.
Yes, I feel like he quite literally invites the audience into his own shoes and allows us to really be immersed in his story. His reflection on his own self and how he deals with extreme events helps us to see how we all eventually fall into our own patterns. But the fact that all humans do this makes it something that connects us. So while Winton's recounts are so personal and specific to him, it shows how similar we all are in dealing with our own trauma.
On the other hand, Winton's comical chapter Betsy recalls his experiences with his childhood car. Betsy was Winton's despised family car, saying that he and his siblings had always associated that car with foulness, ridicule, and lingering shame. Here, I think the use of a tricolon, with all the strong adjectives connotating disgust, is really effective and highlights his youthful vanity and the judgmental nature of adolescence collectively. Winton then goes on to say, as I age, I wonder if perhaps I was a little hasty to spurn her. We're such merciless judges in our youth. It's really interesting to see how Winton uses inclusive language in this line to further emphasize how this really relates to everyone, because everyone was once a merciless judge.
Yeah, I think he uses his own skill of reflection to understand not only his own youthful qualities, but the qualities that all adolescents share, and uses this chapter to show that it's only when he reflects on his past that he better understands his youthful judgment.
So, after reading this book, I began subconsciously finding parallels between Winton's ideas and ideas I'd seen in other texts. One really powerful one I found was Cinema Paradiso.
Oh, Cinema Paradiso, such a moving film, captivating hearts around the globe. Beautifully nostalgic, the film uses flashbacks of the present main character Toto to tell the story of his past and how he got to where he is in the present. We first see Toto as a middle-aged man, who is then thrown back into the past after a phone call about his old mentor and friend Alfredo. The fire scene is possibly the most traumatic and reflective scenes that gives us insight into Toto's life. While Toto reflects on the night when the fire starts in the cinema and Alfredo is blinded, the film shifts back and forward in time. The scene begins from 9-year-old Toto's point of view, running to save his friend, and as the scene progresses, switches to him as a middle-aged man lying in bed, introspectively recalling this event that forever changed his life.
Yeah, I think the structure of this film and this scene specifically lets the audience understand his life by looking back at his reflections, as the flashbacks emphasize the importance of reflection not only to the audience, but also Toto, who is then better able to understand himself. The process of reflection is shared among all humans, and while the reflections of Winton and Toto are extremely personal to them, These texts invite us to reflect on our own lives, because really, reflection is part of everyone's human experience. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you next week.